Hello, it's Gamma Garden, and this is a update of the backyard garden. We've got nasturtiums here growing where a Brussels sprout plant used to be. It's still there, but it's dead. And then we have back there, we got some raspberries going crazy everywhere. That's the beginning of an artichoke plant. And then here is the raspberry patch. What I had to do was put some netting over it because we have birds that love raspberries. And here is the blackberries. They're doing really well, producing lots and lots of blackberries. And there's one that's red and it'll start turning black pretty soon. Since it's so hot in Houston, we can't really have the raspberries too much in full sun. They'll burn. So I have the raspberries in shade, and then the blackberries get a little bit of sun. But it does get a little shaded in the hottest part of the day, so that's great. And over there, we've got orange tree. This is a dwarf, so it shouldn't get bigger than about 6 to 8 feet, and it really doesn't get very tall. It's been expanding outward more than actually going tall. So this is really great to have in an urban gardening situation. It still produces the fruit, it just won't take up your entire yard, so that's great. And then behind there, I threw all the cilantro that had gone to seed. So hopefully that'll kind of decompose, and then whatever seeds are on there will drop, and we'll make this bed full of cilantro next to the orange. And here we have 2 Teff Blue blueberry plants in a container, and they're producing pretty well. The Teff Blue variety is really good for the Houston climate. That's our neighbor dog in the backyard. Mine's over there checking out the worm bin. Okay, and here's the next bed. We've got mustard. Mustard loves to grow here in the Houston weather. It's pretty hot and it likes it here. These are cucumbers. These are the Carolina hybrid variety. But I saved the seed, and so now it's not producing like it would have if it was just the first year seed, because these are not heirlooms, so they don't maintain their genetic diversity. So this is not what it's supposed to look like at all. I think that might have crossed with the squash nearby. That is kind of what it's supposed to look like, except for not being yellow. We've got peppers in there, bell peppers, jalapenos. Got beans. Those are dragon tongue beans. They're a bush variety. I plant pretty closely, and I planted the beans next to the tomatoes here because the beans will provide nitrogen and the tomatoes need lots of nitrogen. And next to that, this is the basil. This is the Italian variety. It's doing really well. It was yellow about a week ago. It's still kind of a little bit yellowish. So if you have a plant that's really turning yellow, the primary thing to do to make it get a little bit greener is not water as much. So less frequent waterings, but deeper waterings. I was watering this obviously too much, and it was turning yellow. And then hiding in here, got some purple basil. It's not doing as well as some of the other basils. And these tomatoes, those are the Tiny Tim variety. This one I don't think is Tiny Tim because it's getting huge. But it is a cherry type tomato. It might be the fox cherry. Some more beans and tomatoes. And here's the spaghetti squash plant. It is on its way out. I have to harvest those spaghetti squash. It got infected with powdery mildew, and then it's just been on its way out ever since. And mustard greens, I just kind of sprinkled them in there next to the radish. So you see really closely, you can see them kind of sprouting up. I don't know if you can see that with the, there we go. There are the mustard greens. We've got wintergreen mint in here, and then some radishes kind of sprinkled in there. And then I planted some yellow onions from sets, so hopefully those should sprout pretty soon. And then we have a melon back there. I forgot which variety I planted. Might be the Kashka. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then the onion going to seed. This is the red Russian kale. It's a little trooper. It obviously likes the cold weather, but it's not doing too bad. A little droopy, but you know, it's hanging in there. And then soybeans. And for some reason, I don't know why, because it's too hot, these sugar snaps came back. I pulled all of those out, but I never take them out by the roots. I like to keep the root system in the soil so that the organisms can decompose it and add back to the soil. But for whatever reason, that decided to come back. So hopefully it'll make it. Got some, this is the Gentilina lettuce. I mispronounced it in the last video. And then here is the fennel. It's gone to seed. And fennel is great for attracting beneficial insects to your garden. Because as you can see here, I don't know if it might be a little blurry, there's some ladybugs in there, and they're eating all the little eggs that are on the fennel plants, the eggs from the bad guys. There's a Gentilina lettuce, still flowering, got some seeds it looks like. We'll be harvesting those seeds pretty soon to save them. More basil, love basil. Here's the other bed. Things are a little slow growing here. Doesn't get really good sun compared to the other two. It's about 10:30, 11-ish a.m. this morning. So as you can see, it's still halfway covered with the morning shade of the fence. And looks like the sunflowers are on their way out. Might need to plant some more of those. And in this bed, we have Malabars, we have the red Russian kale, fennel. I don't know how the fennel ended up over here. I think the seeds may have blown into this bed. Malabar spinach, soybeans, got some melons, some dragon tongue beans, and the mustard that has grown every year, no matter how many times I cut it down, it keeps coming back. Look at this. You can see, this is where the old one was, right there. And then a new one sprouted. We got the eggplant in here. Hopefully it'll survive. Looks like it's getting eaten. See, has little holes. Some more basil. And that's the update on the 3 beds. Dog's sunbathing. He loves to sunbathe. And in this back area, we'll put a water feature to attract some of the birds and beneficial insects so they can have something to drink. And before we wrap up, parsley going to seed. Artichoke hiding in the parsley. More nasturtiums. And basil from seed. It's great to plant your herbs in a bed that gets maybe partial sun and or all shade, and just save your full sun beds for the things that produce like cucumbers, squash, tomatoes, things like that. That way you maximize your space and use it effectively. Thanks for joining Gama Garden, and stay tuned for more updates.